Hello, people. I'm just gonna let Colby talk because Colby's talking about stuff this week. Colby, stop opening up your whole screen.
I can't. I don't know where to put my notes. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the jury.
Blur that.
We're talking.
Anyways,
we're talking
ahead,
about
Colby.
lead gen today. I've got a few points. We're going to talk about tracking, because that's how I wrote it in my notes. We're going to talk about the important considerations of budget in relation to this tracking and all the different things you should be tracking when it comes to lead gen. Yes. I think we're going to mention actually another tactic we've talked about in our other calls, which is important with doing lead gen and something you should do. And then we'll talk just a little bit about YouTube, what you should be doing. So let's keep it easy.
Maybe I'll sprinkle some CRM bits in there too.
Oh yeah, we might talk some CRMs here.
As you also can see, we come with a plan.
Yeah, and so we were recording this video actually 5 minutes ago, and I had moved 2 of these boxes, and it crashed. So we'll see if my computer can handle this. I know this is quite the operation. So now what I had said was, if you're running a lead gen campaign, generally speaking, the purpose is to get leads, right? And very often when I'm auditing accounts, I see that the job just seems to end there. And it's probably not the way you should do it. I would say you should look at it almost like you do with an e-commerce campaign. And if you just get someone to view a product or put an item in their cart, you know, these micro conversions, you don't just, job's done. I got you some items in the cart. Give me $3,000, right? It doesn't work that way. Though, if you want to give me $3,000. Okay. So with that, what I've been saying and what I always say is you need to make sure you're tracking the whole entire conversion journey, because when it comes to lead gen, there's a lot of steps involved, and generally the process isn't quick. It might not be 30, it could be 30, 60, 90, 120 days. You know, maybe you're not getting enough conversions for your actual customer data to pass on to Google. We know a campaign needs at least 30 conversions to be successful. And so usually leads is the easiest thing to optimize towards. But what I want to talk about today is the importance of making sure that you define all the steps involved and you're feeding that information to Google, because let's
give an example. We're talking about steps being involved. Give an example. I can give an example too, and then I'll give an example first, and then you can give an example of one that you're thinking of right now.
If I like your example, we'll see.
If you like my example, you can use it. If not, so I think what we're going for is like you need to be able to track every step of the funnel. Like you want to track every step of the funnel so you can leverage that data later, right? So let's look at some lead gen cases. So I work with the service-based industry a lot, so I'm going to use that. So when we're looking at a
credit card number.
Huh?
Oh, sorry.
Service-based industry. We're talking about like home services, Colby, relax. So in that stage of it, the funnel always goes from calls or calls plus form fills to qualified calls to booked calls. So it's like a 3-step funnel, right? From calls to qualified calls to booked calls. So now you need to understand what happened at each step of the funnel, which basically means like
calls, qualified calls
to book calls. So how many calls am I getting? How many of them are turning into qualified calls? By qualified calls, I mean something that's a bookable call, like Andrew comes with the intent of getting a job done, right? Not informational, with the proper intent. And then what's the percentage from qualified calls to booked calls?
Yeah, hold on, let's do something. We have, with the latest technology, you would just be amazed with the things that we can do. Oh my gosh.
If the user knew how to do the things properly.
Yeah, you know, they say I'm quite a great user of technology. Now look at this. These are your conversion.
Yeah.
You look at the conversion rate between these.
So I can give exact numbers. So I can give exact numbers from one of the clients. So from calls to qualified calls, it's 70%. So 0.7. So if we have 100 calls, around 65 to 70% of them end up being qualified calls. So for every 100 calls, let's just say we get 70 qualified calls. And then from those qualified calls, it's an 85% booking rate. So we
That's really
start
good.
off, it is. So we
Yeah,
start
that's
off,
really good.
so we start off with 100.
Mine, I think.
We end up with 70 qualified calls, right? And then if you have a 0.85, you end up with 60 booked calls out of the 100. So a 40% booking rate. But now I'm going to let Colby take over with his.
Okay, so your booking rate is, and I think let's just do another thing here, right? I know this is probably the most interactive clicking episode anyone's ever seen. Might be the only episode you've ever seen. But what I want to do here is let's just back it all the way up and say like a user. So let's just say user, right? And there's method behind my madness because I just want to quickly show what Usama's talking about. Once again, latest and greatest technology. I'm going to go like this.
Finest there is.
Oh, yeah, look at this. Boom, boom. Now, when you look at this bad boy, do you know what this is going to be?
From the click to the booked call.
This is your for real conversion rate.
Yes.
And you should also be looking at these conversion rates as well. And, oh, you know what we got to talk about this in this call? We're so organized. Custom columns.
We will. All in good time. First, let's just talk about getting through the funnel.
I'm having so much fun. All right. So this is just a number. What was this number?
I think it was a 60%.
Crazy.
No,
Okay.
from calls to booked call is 60%.
Okay. Let's just give this a fake number. Say it's 20%.
Why? So just for people's understanding, the users to calls is different because everyone that's going to click an ad is not going to end up calling. So you have to remember that. So it's usually like 25 to 50%, depending on the niche you're in, that will click an ad or click a call action and will actually call. So
you know what we should do? We should do a shout out to tools like call tracking metrics. Is CallRail a tool? Is that what it's called?
It is.
CallRail?
It is.
I don't even know if that's the one I'm thinking of. What's the one that has
a D? Click our affiliate links. No, we don't have any.
Okay, never mind. It is actually just CallRail. But if you're in a service-based business, you know, we're talking about how we need to capture everything in the funnel. You're a Google Ads advertiser, and your job is to prove your worth. If anyone is coming to your website and then making a phone call, that conversion is very likely getting lost in track. And if you think that you can just put in your little GTM equals tell : tactic, that's half-assed. Don't do that. I'm looking at you, whoever's doing that. You gotta use the real tactics here because you get the dynamic insertion. And with that dynamic insertion of those phone numbers, you're gonna be able to direct those potential leads to your ads. And that could also come, I think, even if they eventually come like organically and whatnot. So it's just gonna prove your worth even further. And if you're a business owner, it gives you a much better understanding of your attribution and how you're doing as a business. So you do not, with lead gen, you do not want any sort of value escaping. You need to capture it all. Every single important interaction should be captured in one of these very well designed funnels, like what we have here.
Yes.
To go on here, and you know what, Usama, honestly, I think your example is better than what I was going to say, but that's why we're a team here. Cohesion. So with what I've dealt with clients, just to talk about this in another sense. So let's say it's not so much call based, but let's say there's, you know, your general lead form, and then it goes to a salesperson, and that salesperson is going to basically determine if it's a qualified or unqualified lead. And so in my experience, if you can, I'm always trying to get away from optimizing towards, like, just as we know, we don't optimize for page views, right? Why would we do that? The number looks big. It's well over 30, but we don't do that. So we always want to get as far up this funnel as we can. In a perfect world, if you can get 30 or more customers in the lead gen campaign, that's what you should be running and gunning for. I'm trying to think of how I can make this. What should we put here? Customer
sales call.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's good. Okay.
So what Colby's basically saying, I'm gonna reiterate what he said, is like every step of the funnel. Colby, can you put some numbers up top? I'm just gonna toss numbers at you. Every step of the funnel, you're gonna hit certain numbers. For example, which one you want to use, Colby? Let's just use the call ones or leads. Let's just say you get 100 leads in total, right? Out of the 100 leads, 40 or 60 are qualified leads, right?
Yeah.
Out of those 60 leads, we get 40 sales calls, and out of those 40 sales calls, we get 20 customers, right?
Mhm.
From a Google standpoint or from an attribution or campaign
You
optimization
say 40 or you
standpoint,
said 20, right? Yeah.
yeah, I'm just cutting it down. From an optimization standpoint, a campaign will not optimize properly for those 20 customers.
Yeah. And we should
Right.
say you might have like 4 campaigns that are doing this. So that's going to be segmented and it's going to be like 4 or 5 a
Mhm.
campaign.
Yeah.
Have we talked about portfolio a bit in this
We
channel?
will
yet?
after.
Okay.
We
Okay,
should do a whole
before-
session on that.
Yeah, because the thing that I think people get lost in for at least lead gen campaigns is so many people try and optimize for the beginning, the actual lead, but
Yeah.
looking at these numbers and how much they fall off, like
Yeah.
that's not valuable. You're just
No.
wasting
You're
so much
optimizing
money.
towards someone with a behavior that's very likely to block off.
Lead.
It's
Not-
like it's
not
back to
become a
the
customer.
users analogy, right? Why would you optimize towards users? Because Google's like, oh, who's most likely to view a page? Probably spam. Similar idea, but once you get into something that's a little more qualified, and I'll say once you're in this section, this is where you need to learn. Come on, man, I just want to get this. This is where you're probably going to need to learn how to handle offline conversions. It's super important. If there's some takeaway I could give with offline conversions, the biggest piece you need to know is there's a thing called the GCLID. And that's your Google Click ID. What you need to do, if you have a good CRM, it's going to do all this for you. If you have no CRM, or you have just a form that isn't very complex.
Lord have mercy.
And maybe we could do a video on this. You know, we've been working in the industry for some time, and I know a guy. I know all sorts of people. But we could do a call on how to append these GCLIDs to a form. So essentially, you don't lose that information, because what's going to happen is there could be big time ranges between these. So like to a qualified lead, maybe that's 20 or 30 days. Remember that there's attribution windows within Google, and if it's too long, that will get lost. So the thing we really want to do is get a GCLID, and we want to attach that GCLID to a lead's first name, last name, email address. And so one way or another, we get that probably on it's either in your CRM or on a form, or CRM, or even on a crappy Google sheet. As long as you have all those certain details, you can upload that back to Google. And then throughout history and time, let's say you upgrade the qualified lead. So the same person that got whatever the GCLID was, let's say the GCLID is 001. Okay, it's not working like that. So just run with me here. 001 comes to here. Now we've identified this. We got the GCLID. We have then put it in a spreadsheet. We have email, first name, last name. You have to, what's that word that you have to do? It's not encode. It's, you know, it's to make things difficult to view so they can't be hacked.
Hash.
Yes. 20 points.
Thank you.
I hope that I hope our lovely editors have a thing that's like ding 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 20. But with that, yes. So you have to hash that data. I promise you can find that information easily. Or I'll create some work for myself and say that we'll find it for you. And in 2 days, I'll really hate myself for saying that. But with all of this, what a rant. So you have the spreadsheet, you have the context name, and then you can basically update them. You could put them on a new list where they're appended to a new conversion action. And so what's going to happen is you could have custom columns for all these in Google Ads. And so you can start to see what performs, and maybe you're optimizing towards qualified leads, but you still want to look and see what's generating the most customers, the most efficient cost, what's the best conversion rate. But when it comes to the GCLID, when you go and capture that, we can now track it all from the very beginning, and you can get outside that attribution window. So it could be like, this could all be like a year. But since you have that GCLID, that data will come back. And we'll see if we need to fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. And so delete this from the
Fact
video.
check you on everything. Moral of the story, just to kind of end it off.
That was quite the rant, eh?
I think that was the most unorganized rant for any video we've ever done. But let me break it down for
any video we've done. Video number 3.
Video number 3, guys. We're 1 for 3. But track every step of the funnel. Optimize towards as close to the end of the funnel as possible for the amount of conversions you can. In this case, let's just say you're running 1 campaign, 40, the sales call is what you would be optimizing towards. Give Google as much data for the most accurate customer you can and go with that. That's it. So if you're going from lead to qualified call to sales calls to customer, don't track customer. Customer doesn't have enough data for you to track. You won't be able to optimize towards customer. You can track customer and then add like a custom column to see what's leading to a customer overall, but track sales calls, because that you can optimize towards efficiently and actually probably get more than 40 in the next month if you optimize properly. And then once you have enough flow of customers or sales call coming in that you're actually getting like 40 customers per month, then you can start optimizing towards customers. But keep as close to the end of the funnel as possible when you're optimizing. That is all. Thank you for my TED Talk.
No, that was good. You really summed it up nicely, because that I might have introduced like 3 or 4 topics there. But yes, optimize towards exactly what Usama just said. And then I just say, to make that all possible, you need to append that GCLID, and you need to work with offline conversion tracking. Some CRMs will just integrate easily. Otherwise, you can just use the spreadsheet system. There's millions of videos out there. You'll figure it out.
Welcome to another episode of Clicking.
The clicking.
The Clicking.
Where marketing happens beyond the click.
And we are actually going beyond the click.